Hello and welcome. Have you ever wondered how Netflix just knows what show you're going to want to binge watch next? Or how your email inbox magically filters out all that junk mail? Well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the fascinating world of machine learning. It's the engine behind all those everyday miracles. So, let's get into it. Okay, so here's our game plan for today. First, we'll get to the bottom of what machine learning actually is. Then we'll look at the two main ways machines get smart. One way is with a teacher, and the other is by figuring things out on their own. And to wrap it all up, we'll see some really mind-blowing examples of how this tech is changing everything around us. Ready? Let's do this. All right, first things first, let's tackle this big buzzword. I know, machine learning can sound super complicated, maybe a little intimidating, but I promise you the main idea behind it is actually pretty simple. So here's the official textbook definition from way back in 1997. Now, I know it sounds a little dense, but let's just break it down. All it's really saying is that a machine gets better at a job by doing it over and over. It's just like us. Think about learning to ride a bike. The more you practice, the less you fall. It's the same exact idea. Okay, let's try an even simpler way to think about it. Imagine a machine is a student, and its task, its big test, is to identify cats in photos. Its experience is like its study material, basically thousands and thousands of pictures of cats. And its performance, well, that's its grade. The more pictures it studies, the fewer mistakes it makes, and the better its grade gets. Simple, right? So let's pop the hood and see what makes these systems tick. No matter how simple or complex a machine learning system is, it's always built on these four key parts. You've got data, that's the textbook, the raw material it learns from. Then you have the model, you can think of that as the brain. The loss function is like a tough teacher who marks every answer right or wrong. And finally, optimization. That's the process of studying those mistakes and figuring out how to do better next time. Okay, so how does a machine actually begin to learn? Well, let's start with the most common method, which is kind of like having a teacher guiding you the whole time. It's called supervised learning. So in supervised learning, the machine gets data that's already labeled with the right answer. Think of it like you're studying with flashcards. You see a picture of a dog on one side, and on the back it says dog. The machine just goes through thousands of these, learning to connect the picture to the right label. And really, supervised learning boils down to two main jobs. First, you've got regression. That's all about predicting a number, like what will the price of this house be next year? Then you've got classification. That's about sorting things into groups. A classic example is deciding, is this email spam or is it not spam? And you see classification models everywhere, all the time. That spam filter in Gmail that saves you so much time, that's classification. When your bank sends you a fraud alert about a weird charge, that's classification too. It's even being used in medicine to help doctors make more accurate diagnoses. It's all about making a smart choice between a few specific options. But what happens if there's no teacher? No answer key? What if the machine just has to learn all by itself? Well, this is where things get really interesting. Let's jump into the world of learning without a guide. Welcome to Unsupervised Learning. Imagine I gave you a giant, messy box with 1,000 photos inside and just said, sort these. You'd probably start making your own piles, right? Maybe a pile for landscapes, one for portraits, one for pictures of pets. That's exactly what the machine does here. It looks at a ton of unlabeled data and tries to find its own patterns in groups. And this ability to find hidden patterns is super useful. Companies like Amazon use it for clustering, grouping customers with similar buying habits to give you better recommendations. Supermarkets use it to find associations. Discovering that people who buy bread also tend to buy milk. It's all about finding those connections that a human might have missed. All right, our next stop is reinforcement learning. And honestly, the best way to get this is to think about how you'd train a dog. You don't give it a textbook, right? Nope. When it does something good, like sit, you give it a treat. That's a reward. It learns through trial and error what actions lead to the best outcomes. So, in the machine world, our agent tries an action. The environment gives it back a reward or a penalty. Based on that feedback, the agent adjusts its strategy just a little bit. Now imagine that happening not once or twice, but millions or even billions of times. Through this relentless process, it slowly but surely figures out the absolute best way to win.
And if you want to see just how powerful this is, look at this. Back in 2016, a program called AlphaGo beat the world's best human player at the game of Go, which is an incredibly complex game. And the wildest part? AlphaGo basically taught itself how to play by just playing against itself over and over and over again. It's a perfect example of reinforcement learning in action.
So we've walked through the theory, right? We've seen how machines can learn with a teacher and how they can learn on their own. Now, let's see how all of this comes together to actually shape the world we live in every single day. In some of the most important areas of our lives, machine learning is a total game changer. In healthcare, it's helping doctors spot diseases earlier and more accurately than ever before. And in finance, it's that silent security guard, working 24/7 to protect our bank accounts from fraud.
And it's not just in these big, complex fields. This tech is woven into our daily routines. The recommendations you get on Netflix, that's machine learning. The way Google Maps magically finds a faster route to avoid traffic, yep, that's machine learning too. It's the invisible engine running behind so much of our modern lives.
But, with all this incredible power comes a huge responsibility. We have to be really careful. If the data we use to train these systems is biased, then the systems themselves will be biased. And as they get smarter, we have to think really hard about things like data privacy. Making sure this technology is fair, transparent, and safe is one of our biggest challenges.
And that really brings us to the big final question. As we get better at teaching machines how to learn, what are we teaching them about what's important, about our values? Because it's not just about making smarter computers, it's about building a future with intelligent systems that really reflect the best of us. And you know what? That future isn't just up to the engineers, it's up to all of us. Thanks so much for joining.